Oh hey, didn't see you there. What's going on, guys? It's ThePowerBauer 2, and I'm just getting ready to duke it out in Smash Bros. Ultimate. I've been waiting for months for this game to come out, and I'm just trying to get ready so I can smash everybody. Come on, give me your best shot. Oh!
Super Smash Brothers. One of the most widely beloved fighting games of all time. From the original, to the fan favorite, to the one everyone hates, and to this shit. We have all been waiting for the next installment in this franchise. And earlier this year, we got a glimmer of hope with a reveal that shocked the world. We only learned that the game was coming this year, but it was enough to send the internet into a frenzy. The first real news that we got came at E3 2018 where we got that trailer. When Mario jumped out of that pipe and I heard that theme, man was I hyped. Every single character was confirmed to be coming back, even Cloud. I never thought I would be excited to see Ice Climbers, but here we are. And we even got the most ridiculous new fighter. Ridley hits the big time. You fucking would, Sakurai. We then had to wait up until August for the next Smash Direct. Sure, like 90% of it was pointless information along with the fact that the game is essentially just a music album with fighting as a side mode, but that was made up for with even more fighters that we never expected in Simon Belmont, King K. Rool, and a few others, but they're not nearly as important. Isabelle from Animal Crossing was then revealed in a Nintendo Direct in September, but that was pretty much the only Smash information in that entire Direct. We then got one more Smash Direct in early November. We got the final new fighters, directly followed by 30 minutes of stuff nobody cared about. And then, Piranha Plant happened. What the actual fuck? The final piece of information that we got was that Ultimate would have an actual adventure mode called World of Light. It's hard to think that we actually got all this information in less than a year. All this buildup has led to maybe the most hyped up Smash Bros. Game of all time. And now that the game is finally here, let's see if the game actually lived up to the hype. The intro for a Smash Bros. Game sets the tone for what's to come. The first game was so simple, yet so perfect. It was just a bunch of dolls coming to life and beating the shit out of each other. Melee's was just... it's perfect. That's all that needs to be said. Brawls isn't bad, but it's mostly just made up of cutscenes from Subspace Emissary. It still is pretty awesome though, especially with that theme that accompanies it. Then Smash 4 is just... It's just fighting and reveal trailers mashed together. Why the hell did they think this was okay? Well, at least Smash Ultimate can't be any worse. Whoa, that music makes me feel some kind of way. The intro is essentially a compilation of both in-game fights as well as cutscenes from the adventure mode. I'd say it's probably the most comparable to Brawl's intro, but I think the music makes it even better than Brawl. So many of the short clips are amazing and the art style is just so beautiful. Of course they put Fox only on Final Destination. This intro definitely isn't the best in the series, but it's better than Smash 4's. And speaking of better than Smash 4, look at this menu! This might be my favorite menu from any Smash game. It has such an appealing look that just tickles my fancy, and praise the Lord, it actually makes sense! Even the little sidebar is so awesome to me, and this is what every Smash menu dreams to be. I might be blinded by the fact that this is just a new game, but come on, you can't deny it's better than this shit. Obviously, when you play a Smash Bros. Game, the first mode you will likely look at is the Smash mode. Who could have possibly guessed that? And my god have they improved this. The order in which you pick the settings is perfect to me. You first pick your game mode like either a time or a stock match. You then choose the stage that you will fight on, which is just perfect because some stages are just better suited for certain modes. And lastly, you will pick your fighter, which allows you to perfectly choose a character suited for a certain stage. Sure, it is kind of annoying that you have to re-pick your character when you go back for another fight, but that's really just a small nitpick. It might feel like a tiny change that wouldn't really affect your experience, but let me tell you that I love it. And the fighting in general is just... is so good. It's a perfect mix of everything that makes the previous games amazing. The movement isn't too slow or too fast, and the controls are just so smooth. I've only played on the Pro Controller so far, but I can imagine that the GameCube controller would be perfect as it has been for every other game. There have been so many small tweaks to moves and even some kind of big changes like the directional air dodge. I can definitely see this game having competitive viability. And every stage now has both an Omega and Battlefield form, and you can remove stage hazards. I don't know how it took until 2018 for this to happen, but it's about damn time. Everything about the fighting in this game is exactly how I wanted it to be. Sure, it's not Melee, but nothing will ever be Melee. And how can we talk about the fighting without talking about the characters? We have 69, don't laugh, unique fighters plus 5 Echo Fighters for a total of 74 characters. If you showed me this image a year ago and told me that it would be the next Smash title, I would have laughed and just walked away. Every fighter represents their franchise perfectly, and oh do I love some of the small tweaks they made. Zelda is so beautiful, and Ganondorf is actually a Gerudo and uses his sword! And just look at my boy Wolf! He's perfect! pretty much all of the final smashes are amazing too. Almost all are now cinematic and they make way more sense. Finally, Falco isn't in the Landmaster, which he is known for hating. There is something about controlling certain characters like Giga Bowser that I do miss, but for the most part, I definitely prefer the cinematic final smashes. Now let's talk about the music, and my god, it's so good! As Sakurai said, there are over 900 hours of music in this game. It's so unnecessary to put this much effort into just the music, but I'm not complaining. And I don't care what anybody says. The new Gangplank Galleon theme is lit. The big unique mode that was hyped up in the Final Smash Direct is the Spirits mode. You can equip these spirits to fighters, which will power them up and even give them certain attributes. I love the variety that these have and the range of games that they come from. There are so many spirits that have the same effects, but I will always choose a spirit from my gaming franchise that I just like more. However, these do replace trophies, which I have mixed feelings about. It makes sense because they are sort of a collectible in the same vein as trophies, but I just don't feel nearly as satisfied when I collect a new spirit as I did with trophies. I think I'm just emotionally attached to them after the Melee intro though, because of seeing Mario's trophy come to life, but that's just me. Now the spirits themselves are pretty cool. I still prefer the trophies, but nonetheless, the entire adventure mode is based around this idea. I am so happy that we have a new story mode in World of Light and not some stupid thing like Smash Tour. Now before I get into this section, I want you to know there will be spoilers in this section, so if you have not played this mode, I recommend clicking the time on screen right now because I do not want to spoil this for anybody. I'm going to start by talking about the basics of the mode, so I will give you another warning before any major spoilers comes, like any bosses, so I'm just giving you another heads up. Now with that out of the way, let's talk about the World of Light. The premise of this mode is that the being of light called Golem is essentially taking over different fighters' bodies by using spirits to possess them. You need to defeat these spirits in order to add them to your side, and you also continuously add fighters to your roster as well. And since this game was made by Sakurai, you of course start with everyone's favorite pink puffball, Kirby. These battles with spirits have a wide variety of challenges. You can have some pretty simple battles or something like the enemy being giant or maybe even fighting multiple enemies. Eventually stage hazards will also become a part of the challenge. You might have to fight on a lava floor, a floor that makes you fall asleep, or even a deep fog which basically just blinds you. These really add a much needed variety because this mode is basically just fight after fight, which would get really old very quickly. Especially if you get a bunch of easy fights in a row, which happened to me. But then, you'll randomly run into some crazy challenge like an army of enemies made of metal with super armor, increased stats, and they will just get their final smash out of the beginning of the match, which is just bullshit! The first bit of this mode might seem easy, but good god it will challenge you. Especially if you actually try to 100% the mode on hard. To deal with these challenges, you will need to choose certain spirits before each battle that will help you with whatever challenge they pose. Some spirits will let you stand on lava or just boost some of your attacks. There even is a sort of Pokemon-style type system where certain spirits are stronger against others. I really like this idea because it makes sure you can't just use one spirit throughout the entire game, and you actually need to switch your approach for each battle. And trust me, you want to have this variety because you will be having hundreds of these fights. Just look at this map, it's massive! There are so many different paths you can take, and certain secrets can only be solved once you collect a certain spirit. This really incentivizes exploration and not just to continue down one path the whole way. I'm definitely biased when it comes to that aspect because I love games with tons of exploration, but it's not like that's the only aspect that makes this mode good. Once you defeat enough of these spirits, you can finally challenge Golem. Now this fight is... okay, I'll be honest, this fight definitely underwhelmed me. The fight is okay, but it's just way too easy. The attacks aren't too difficult to dodge, and I just don't like the aesthetic of fighting a ball of light. The rainbow wings, or whatever you want to call them, are a cool design, but it just doesn't feel like a boss to me. I loved the battle with Taboo and Subspace Emissary, so maybe I just set my expectations way too high. Now what happens after you defeat Golem is what I personally am so happy wasn't spoiled me, so if you have somehow made it this far in the video without wanting to be spoiled, I suggest clicking the time on the screen. This is going to be your last warning. Defeating Golem reveals the being of darkness, Darkon. Okay, Sakurai, you couldn't come up with a better name than Darkon? I know you can do better. He creates a portal to the Dark World where you basically just do the same thing as before until you fight Darkon instead of Golem. It's a cool idea, but I'll be honest, fighting these spirits over and over gets so repetitive even with all these different challenges. But I still enjoy the twist of Darkon appearing because I never expected that before I played the mode. And luckily, they did also add a few boss fights in both the Light and the Dark Worlds. I haven't mentioned these yet, but we all knew that Rathalos and Dracula were going to be bosses along with Gallium returning for some fucking reason. But what I didn't expect was for Ganon to appear as a boss. Like, holy shit, this is awesome. They even added small details like only being able to hurt Ganon by hitting his tail. The hitbox can be kind of bad sometimes, but I don't care because this is awesome. Once again, once you've defeated enough spirits, then you can battle Darkon. And I'll be honest, this is basically just a dark and evil version of Golem. It's not very different, and I really wish they would have made some kind of change. You defeat him, and then both Golem and Darkon collide in the sky. You then need to battle more spirits, and god, this is getting old, before you can reach the final challenge. And in this final area, I can't believe I'm actually saying this. You can play as Master Hand. Oh my lord, this is everything I have ever wanted. I'm sorry for complaining about the repetitive battle, Sakurai. I love you. This really brings me back to the days of Melee where we all wanted to play as Master Hand, and although you technically can in that game, it was never meant to be until now. There's then one final climb where you battle all the bosses from before, and then you have to battle both Golem and Darkhan at the same time. And this final boss finally is difficult. Like I said, Golem and Darkhan are such easy battles and I didn't struggle with them at all, but I did struggle with battling both of them at the same time. I will continue to say that I don't really like the Golem and Darkhan fights by themselves, especially because they're basically the same thing, but I definitely enjoyed battling them together way more because it actually offered a real challenge. And that's pretty much it for the adventure mode. It's basically just a large world to explore with a ton of repetitive battles and a few boss fights thrown in here and there. Now that description might sound bad, but don't get it twisted, this mode is so much fun. The art style of the map is beautiful, and I'm just so happy to have an actual story mode again. I don't think it's quite as good as Subspace Emissary, but it's at least 1,000 times better than Smash Tour. And after the Spirits mode, honestly there's really not that much more to the game. We of course have Classic mode, which is basically just the same as every other game. Just a bunch of battles in a row, but they did add a new minigame between the fights. I do like that they tried something new, but honestly, I just want Break the Targets. They did also change the boss at the end, so it's not always Master Hand. It changes between all the different boss fights in the game, which I like for variety's sake, but again, it just doesn't feel right for it not to be Master Hand at the end. There's also of course online battles, which are okay. The online isn't terrible and the connectivity works fairly well, but it's still not as good as it probably should be. I know we are only paying $20 for online compared to $60 with Xbox and PlayStation, but it shouldn't be this much worse. I don't understand how Nintendo still can't manage to have good servers while no one else has any problems. And since I'm speaking about the online, just get rid of the damn online app or whatever it is. Nobody uses it, Nintendo. And honestly, that's basically it for this game. I didn't really realize it until making this review, but this game doesn't have nearly as much content as I thought it did. You have your Smash mode, Spirits mode, Classic mode, and online as shit as it might be. I think I just expected this game to have a ton more content with all the hype that was built up behind the game. But to be fair, these modes are pretty much all you really need. Classic mode will be different every time you complete it, so it has tons of replayability, especially because you have to actually unlock higher difficulties for each character. The adventure mode is finally something new and can be different every time too, depending on how you play it. And then of course you can just beat the shit out of your friends in person or online. It might not be a ton of content compared to the other games, but damn is it good. This game went for quality over quantity, which is always a good decision in my book. Except when it comes to characters, then give me all those motherfuckers. And looking back at this game, I think this might be my favorite Smash Bros. Game to date. The fighting is my personal favorite. The story mode isn't the best, but that in tandem with the quality of every other mode really makes it the best ever. Come on, we have 74 characters plus Piranha Plant and Joker coming next year. I'm so excited for the DLC and I cannot wait to see what's coming. But just remember, just because a character is a spirit in this game does not mean they can't be added as a fighter. Sorry, I'm just trying to give all you Shantae and Rayman fans some hope, but who am I kidding? We all know Sakurai just pulled the greatest scheme of all time by adding Joker so that everybody buys the DLC pass, and now we can just add 4 more fucking Fire Emblem characters. God damn it, Sakurai.